Hello, let's continue with the database. We're going to talk about the entity now and how each one of those is going to be discussed or defined or described by a list of attributes. So an entity is going to end up in a table or relationship in a database, a relation rather, that by definition an entity is anything, a person, a thing, anything in the real world that I can describe by a list of attributes. Attributes mean characteristics, means descriptors, mean uh, adjective of that entity. So let's take a look here. If I take a students as the entity, I would have to come up with a list of attributes that will define each student without knowing already about who is going to come to my class or who's going to even register for my class or who is going to be enrolled in the university. A student should have a student's ID. We talked about it. It's the primary key. Last name, first name, address for sure, and city, state, zip code, and maybe we will go for the date of birth for sure, and of course the major they are trying to enroll. So that what each going to describe uniquely each student's later in the database is going to be the student's ID. So when we build this table or relation in the database, if I entered the values, for example, 111 for the first students, then I put, let's say, Smith, then I put John, then I put 123 Main Avenue, then I put the city, let's say, Austin, then I say Texas, then I don't know what the zip code, and date of birth 02/04/2000, and major information system. The full entry that I entered in the table that represent an actual students, in this case is John Smith, is going to be called a record. It's going to be called a record. Since another name must be entered with a unique student's ID, since I identified the student's ID as the primary key. So we'll put it 222. If I put it 11, it's going to give me a problem. Then we'll go ahead and say Roberts. All right. And Maria, okay, for the first name. She lives in this long road, and that lives in Seguin, Texas, at 78155. And she was born this 2000, and her major is business administration. So now I have two records. If you take a look at this record number one, this is record number two. In order for me to identify the students from each other, they must have a unique value for their student's ID. But if I take a look at the horizontal entry, it's called a record. Each column in this is going to look like a table eventually when I do actually enter multiple of the students. Each column is going to be referred to as field. So a field is made of an actual value. The attribute is the descriptor of that field. If I say student's ID and I say, what is the student's ID for the first students? You will say 111. What is the student's ID for the second students is 222. If I said, what is the date of birth for this first student? It's going to be February 4th, 2000. What is his major is IS. So you notice that the attribute is really acting as adjective here that will tell me about a specific value to describe that specific value. And the actual value is called a field. And each field is made out of either number or characters. Sometimes it's going to be a picture, sometimes it's a sound or a clip of a video. It could be also a link to another place within the database or in the web. It doesn't matter as long as it's going to be unique. But characters are very interesting because nowadays we use 2 bytes for each character because we have moved to the Unicode systems from the one byte character, which was the ASCII. So this is, as you notice, is going to help me visualize. This is as a table. And if of course, I enter the table, it would make much more sense. But you could visualize with me if I enter like 30 students, how each one of them is going to be aligned. Student ID is going to be aligned, the last name, the first name, the address, the city, the state, the zip code, the date of birth, and the major. Okay, so this is horizontally called a record. Vertically, it's called a field. In each field, it's made of either numbers, digits, or multiple characters. Sometimes it's picture, sound, or video. So we're going to go ahead and save this table in a specific name. For example, maybe I could save this table as table students. And this way we'll be able to identify it from other objects in the database beside table, because we have forms, we have reports, and we have query more than anything else. Okay, as we will discuss in future videos when we discuss SQL, the structured query language that's behind data access in many relational databases. Thank you for watching. I don't want to go too far with each video, maybe like less than 8 minutes, and we'll continue in the third video very soon. Thank you.